Have you ever noticed that two traders can use the exact same strategy, but one consistently makes money while the other blows their account? I spent years jumping from strategy to strategy, thinking the next indicator or setup would finally make me profitable. But here's what I discovered after thousands of hours in the markets, and it completely contradicts what most trading gurus are selling you. The difference between profitable traders and everyone else isn't about having secret strategies. It's something far more fundamental that I'll reveal by the end of this video. And it's transformed not just my trading, but my entire approach to achievement. Let's start with an uncomfortable truth. Trading success is overwhelmingly about psychology, not strategy. This isn't just my opinion. Studies consistently show that around 80% of trading success comes down to psychological factors, while only 20% is attributable to your actual strategy. Think about it. Most trading strategies that have stood the test of time aren't particularly complex. Support and resistance, trend following, breakout trading, these concepts have been around for decades. The information is readily available, so why do 90% of traders still lose money? This brings us to what I call the psychological gap. The massive divide between knowing what to do and actually doing it consistently under pressure. This gap is precisely why most traders fail, and it's rarely addressed in typical trading education. You see, when you're sitting on the sidelines analyzing charts after the market closes, everything looks obvious. I should have entered here, taken profit there. But when you're in a live trade with real money on the line, something fundamentally changes in your decision-making process. Your brain literally functions differently under financial stress. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for rational thinking and decision-making, gets hijacked by your amygdala, the primitive part of your brain designed for survival responses. This is where the real edge in trading emerges, which connects to what I'll reveal later about psychological conditioning. When you're watching your positions swing between profit and loss, your brain isn't calmly calculating probabilities anymore. It's fighting against evolutionary programming that's telling you to avoid loss at all costs. This is why you might panic sell at the bottom, or impulsively add to losing positions. Let me share something personal. Early in my trading journey, I had a perfectly back-tested strategy with clear rules. But in live trading, I'd constantly override my own system. I'd take profits too early when afraid, or skip valid setups after a loss. My strategy wasn't the problem, my psychology was. This is why I eventually created my trading plan and strategy guide to provide a structured framework that helps traders bridge this psychological gap. The guide walks you through 10 essential components, from defining your goals and understanding your trading personality, to developing concrete entry, exit strategies, and risk management protocols. I have made this guide available for free through the link in the description, because I believe having this foundation is critical before you can address the psychological aspects we're discussing today. This naturally leads us to understanding that the real edge in trading comes from psychological conditioning. The most successful traders aren't necessarily the ones with the best strategies. They're the ones who've trained themselves to execute consistently despite emotional turbulence. Think of it like athletic training. A professional basketball player doesn't just understand the mechanics of a free throw, they've conditioned their body through thousands of repetitions to execute under pressure. Trading requires the same deliberate practice of your psychological responses. This is where it gets interesting. Most traders spend 90% of their time looking for better setups and only 10% working on their psychology. The professionals do the exact opposite. They find a simple, proven approach and then dedicate themselves to mastering the psychological aspects of execution. In Section 9 of my trading plan guide, I emphasize the importance of keeping a trading journal, not just for tracking technical aspects of your trades, but specifically for monitoring your psychological states. This is one of the most powerful tools for developing self-awareness around your emotional triggers in the market. So how do we begin overcoming these emotional barriers? First, you need to recognize that fear, greed, hope, and regret aren't just inconvenient feelings. They're the primary obstacles to your success. One powerful technique I've implemented is emotional journaling. After every trade, I document not just the technical aspects, but my emotional state before, during, and after the trade. This creates awareness of your psychological patterns, which is the first step to changing them. Another approach is simulated pressure testing. Most traders practice in demo accounts with no emotional stakes, then wonder why they fall apart with real money. Instead, try creating artificial consequences for breaking your rules, even in practice. This builds the psychological muscle memory you'll need when actual money is at risk. Remember when I mentioned the prefrontal cortex getting hijacked during stress? Here's a practical technique to counter this. Pre-commitment strategies. By making your trading decisions before the emotional pressure hits, you create a buffer against impulsive reactions. This might mean setting your entries, stops, and targets in advance, and committing not to modify them once the trade is live. But here's what transforms this completely. Understanding that psychological mastery isn't just about controlling emotions, it's about reconditioning your relationship with uncertainty and risk. This is the missing piece that makes everything else work. The true edge in trading isn't found in indicators, setups, or strategies. It's in developing a mind that can execute with discipline regardless of emotional state. The traders who succeed long-term have essentially rewired their brains to respond differently to market conditions than the average person. This is why two traders can use identical strategies with dramatically different results. One has developed the psychological conditioning to follow their rules consistently, while the other is still at the mercy of their emotional responses. So, where do you go from here? Start by being honest about how much time you're spending on strategy versus psychology. If you're like most traders, you need to flip that ratio. Begin documenting your emotional states during trades and identifying your psychological triggers. Download my free trading plan and strategy guide through the link in the description. Use it to establish your structural foundation, but pay special attention to the sections on personality assessment and journaling. These are the bridges between strategy and psychology. Remember, the quiet edge in trading isn't about finding some secret strategy. It's about the disciplined process of building psychological resilience that compounds over time. It's not flashy, but it's what actually works. If you found this perspective helpful, hit the like button and share it with someone who might be struggling with the psychological aspects of trading. Drop a comment below with your biggest psychological challenge in trading, and I'll personally respond to as many as I can. Until then, I'm Ken from The Quiet Edge.